Hey there, welcome back to another Thoughts on video. This time, actually, a second Thoughts on video. This is technically another review of Man of Steel. Now, Man of Steel is a film that I did a pretty lengthy rant on in the past, and I will keep the video up. But this video is proof that sometimes opinions can change. I watched this film again because I decided why not? Let's watch it again. I to see if it's as bad as I remember it being, to see if it might be better than I think it might be, to see if it's better than Batman vs Superman and it deals with, Superman's ideals and handles some things better than that film did. And after watching it again, I am as surprised as you are to say that um I think it's not a terrible movie. I really do. Like I can't believe it either. Okay, I really can't. Like I was expecting this to be, oh my God, this is what I hate. This is just going to be the same thoughts that I had before, but it really isn't. But but it's only a few steps better than what I thought it was going to be. I would say at best it's average. So it went from a film that I hated, a film that I thought was just terrible in almost every aspect, to a film that I think is just average. It's okay. I guess I could say it's a time waster for me now. Mainly because I did like the last hour or so of the movie when it wasn't trying to do an annoying flashback. I liked the action. I did like the action this time around. Um, and the stuff was odd, and killing him didn't really bother me that much. Um, Specifically because in a line of dialogue that Zod himself says, he says that either you die, there's only one way this ends, Kal-El, or either you die or I do. So, and that's pretty much what happens. So it don't, him dying never really bothered me anyway. What bothered me before was kind of how it was handled, but I still kind of feel that way. But him all being like, ah, and I was like, he's a murderer. He was gonna kill everybody. But okay, maybe I don't think. But then I thought about it. I don't think he's yelling at the death of Zod. He's yelling in anguish at the death of Krypton. Because by killing Zod and by stopping him, he in essence has destroyed Krypton all over again. So it's one of the ultimate sacrifices. He sacrifices his home world for Earth, and I think that's actually a pretty admirable thing to do and a very heroic thing to do. Um, it's a shame that Batman vs Superman throws it out the window with having lines of dialogue like Superman saying, "My world is gone," and stuff like that. Like he hasn't really. I guess he's dealing with that in Batman vs Superman, but since the film doesn't have that much screen time to flesh some of these things out, it just seems kind of half-assed. I'll get to that when I talk about that movie, but I don't want to take forever this video. I want these thoughts on videos to be, shorter and to the point. So I'm just going to tell you the things about Man of Steel that I liked and the things that I didn't uh, after this second time around. Things that I liked, I love the score by Hans Zimmer. I think it's a great score. I like the I Will Find I really like the I Will Find Him bit of music in this movie. It's like the best thing about the words I will find him. It's the best thing about I will find him in that scene. I mean, that scene could have been good if Zod just said, I will find your son. I will find him. And then just leave it there. That's fine. No, but the film decided need to go like two steps beyond and then into ridiculousness territory with, I will find him. I will find him. I will find him. It was just like, whoa, we don't need to do that. That's tone it down. That's just stupid and silly. Like I said, just less is more. But yeah, Hans Zimmer score I like. I like his score, Flight. I like the little piano bit of the score that's used. Overall, I think it's a good score. I actually like the score a lot. Um, Henry Cavill surprised me this time around. I thought he actually had a decent amount of charisma. He smiled. He did. He did smile in this. He laughed and smiled when he was flying for the first time. I think the flying scenes could have been shot better because it was shot like far away for some reason. And Superman looks like a little tiny dot flying around through the canyons or something, and then it just awkwardly cuts to a really up close shot of him flying. There was no grace. There's no grace to these flying sequences or wonder. Um, but you could see that there was something there with the character, that he was having fun. I actually couldn't help but smile a little bit when he's laughing and smiling while he's flying around for the first time. Um, he doesn't really crack a lot of jokes in this, but there are some moments where he does smile, he does show a personality. I think they could have been fleshed out more. I think there could have been more of these moments because he does spend a lot of time just kind of being, reflective on things. And but part of me is like, well, I kind of understand what they're trying to do with the film now. They're trying to show him, okay, this is the first time he's being Superman, and they're trying to ground him a bit and trying to show him grow into the Superman that we know and love. Um, and I could deal with that if it wasn't for the sixth film that came after it, which basically just put everything in reverse. But I'll talk about that when I talk about Batman vs Superman. But I did see glimpses of the Superman that I love in this movie. I didn't notice it before, but I did see it here. He was a lot more intelligent than I remember. He's the one that came up with the plan to send the Phantom Drive into the other spaceship to send it into, essentially a black hole. He's the one who came up with that. He says so. That's Cal showing his intelligence there. Um, he disabled Zod and his crew's breathing mechanisms, which then uh, incapacitated them a little bit and disorientated them because they're not used to uh, the dealing with all the different powers that they end up getting after being exposed to the atmosphere and to her sun. So they're not used to controlling those powers. Like he said, focusing on one thing and being able to control what he wants to, which powers he wants to use instead of everything happening all at once. So he used his intelligence there. So there were moments where he was using his intelligence. He was being smart. So I don't think he's a total moron in this. In Batman vs Superman, he's more of an idiot. He can't, for some reason, can't use his X-ray vision to see Batman through, a smoke bomb, through a bunch of smoke. But hey, that's that film's problem, not this movie's problem. Um, yeah, I thought he was fine. I thought his performance was fine. I thought he did the best job that he could with what he had to work with, which was just a kind of screenplay. But I thought Cavill wasn't a problem this time around. I always liked Diane Lane as Martha Kent, and I think she's great in this. I like Diane Lane as an actress anyway, and I think she has good chemistry with Henry, and I think she just has a good job of what she's asked to do. Um, and Kevin Costner's performance is fine, but the lines he's given are I don't really care for. Like, should I let those kids die? Maybe. It's just very tone deaf, and the character could have been written a lot better. Jonathan Kent has been portrayed much better than he is in this movie. And, the whole stupid talk to the hand tornado scene doesn't help either. And that's another problem, is this crazy amount of flashbacks in this movie. They're just all over the place. But I'll talk about those a little bit later. Um, Other things that I liked, like I said, a little bit of action I like. Christopher Maloney's in a little bit of it. I believe it's Christopher Meloni. Yeah, I liked him a little bit that he was in. I thought Lawrence Fishburne did a fine job as Perry White. Um, I loved Russell Crowe. I really liked his performance as Jor-El. There were a lot of lines of dialogue that his character were given that was very profound. I mean, his character was given, not were. That his character was given that were very profound, and I thought would end up becoming the, let's just say, end up becoming the basis for Cal's beliefs and his belief system and his ideals for future Superman films. They're very reminiscent of the things that Marlon Brando said in the Donner films and so on. But they're different enough that they don't feel like they're exactly the same. Um, but I do think Russell Crowe did a good job. And Michael Shannon, the moments where he's not chewing the scenery and overacting, which there are a few moments that definitely are cringe-inducing, but there are other moments where I think he's fine, actually. This time around, he actually surprised me. I'm like, I don't think it was a performance that was all bad. There were moments where I thought he actually did a good job with showing emotion and being this intimidating presence, this villain who he was a bit over the top at times and a bit too much over the top at times. But if I got to be honest, so was Terrence Stamp as General Zod in Superman 2. Um, and I don't have a problem with Zod in that movie, so I could deal with Michael Shannon in this, except for his moments where he's like, "I will find him." That's just too much. There's some other moments where it's a bit too much too, but the scene where he's talking to Cal before he fights him, and he says that my job is to protect Krypton, and you basically then he says you've tore out my soul. I thought it was actually a pretty good performance by Michael Shannon there. I believed in what he was saying. Now, so yeah, in terms of performances, those are pretty good. For the most part, the cast does a solid job. Amy Adams is there. She's not terrible, but I don't think her character was written that well. I mean, she has some cringe-inducing lines of dialogue to say, like "It's supposed to go in all the way," stuff like that, which is dumb. Um, and she's just there to be saved by Superman like 3 times throughout the whole movie. But yeah, I could take her or leave her. I love the art direction of this movie too. I love the production design. The bits of the practical sets that you do see, like on Krypton and in the spaceship, I think are really good. The costume design, I also really enjoy. Um, I I don't mind the super suit the suit that he's wearing. I think it could be a little bit brighter. I think the colors could be brighter. But that's another thing I noticed watching this again. The colors are a little bit brighter than I remember them being, but they can still be brightened up a little bit. It's a little bit too muted for my tastes for a Superman film. But when it comes to the villains and their outfits, I love the designs. I really do. I think they're really cool. Um, and as well as the costume design for Krypton and the people on Krypton and stuff like that, I liked as well. So I think the costume design is cool, the art direction, the production design. You can definitely tell this is a film that had a pretty good big budget. Um, Visual effects for the most part, some of them are good, some of them are kind of I wasn't a fan of the whole sequence with the World Engine where Superman's fighting against a CGI snake or CGI tendrils or whatever the hell they were. It just wasn't very exciting. It was honestly kind of a lazy action sequence. Um, I didn't really. Zack Snyder's direction was at times decent, and other times kind of bad. I know we can do better because I've seen Watchmen and I love that movie. And I think Watchmen is a better film than Man of Steel. And Watchmen has some really great visuals to it, some very bright, vibrant colors, as well as some dark colors, but there's a lot of bright colors to it as well. It's one of the most visually stunning films I've ever seen. And to see Snyder basically have his colors all muted, basically because DC and producer Christopher Nolan are probably saying, this is how we want it to look. Want it to look more like The Dark Knight and less like Watchmen or um, the Richard Donner films, Superman movies. So there are a lot of things that colors are washed out, and that's kind of disappointing. But there's some brightness though at times, especially during the day shots that I didn't notice before that I did notice this time around. I would like more brightness though. I would like some more light in my Superman movie. But yeah, the visual effects were okay for the budget that they had. They could have been a little bit better, actually, to be honest. But part of that's Zach's decision to shoot certain scenes and edit them weirdly, so that doesn't do them any favors either. Um, and I would say, the sound design's okay, the sound editing is fine. Like I said, the score really does work, it really does add to the film. The editing needs work. I think the editing could be a lot better. I think that's one of the film's failings. I think the screenplay could definitely be a lot better. I mean, there should not be any scenes where Pa Kent is saying to Clark, after he says, "Should have just let those kids die," and he says, "Maybe." There should be none of that. In fact, that scene could just be cut out of the movie easily. It just cut to him just showing Clark the spaceship. He says the same things later. He says pretty much the same thing about what he's destined to be, and when the time comes, then, you should use your powers. He says the same thing. It's like he repeats himself. So it's unnecessary to have the scene, which is confusing, where Jonathan Kent is telling Clark, "Oh yeah, maybe you should have let those kids die." All because of one fat kid who was a freaking bully. Who was a bully, who then later, I guess inexplicably in the film, becomes his friend, and then he goes on to work at IHOP, because we needed to know that for some reason. Um, yeah, there are a lot of dialogue in this. It's just pretentious and just heavy-handed, and it really could be handled better. The film is also the screenplay also, like I said, what I mean by it's not the best it can be is that it's disjointed, it's jumbled up. That's where you have the whole structure of the first half, which I don't like the first half. See, this movie's a tale of two halves for me now. Like, I could deal with this stuff after the first half, like the last hour or so. I actually don't mind, minus the stupid tornado flashback. Talk to it, Clark. Talk to it. I mean, it's stupid. But after, Zod says, we are not alone, you have the alien invasion stuff, and, Superman is Superman, and you have the fun action sequence in Smallville, which I didn't mind. I actually liked it this time around. It was nice to see that type of battle, those type of fights with Superman. I think the CGI could be a little bit better, but I still had some fun. I had fun with the fight scenes, and I had fun with the action. Um, it was kind of nice to see Superman get in sort of battles like that. Yeah, it caused collateral damage, but the other Kryptonians were going to cause just as much if he didn't do something. And I know, yeah, he plows Zod through a tanker and it blows up. He was pissed off. You could see it in the scene. He was not in the right of mind. He basically was saying, "Don't you dare touch my mother, Zod." He was pissed off. He was enraged because they just tossed his mother around like a rag doll. And I don't know about you, but if I was in his shoes and I had these powers, I'd be pissed too. It'd be hard for me to hold back my rage too, because after somebody just threw my mother around like she's a rag doll. So I don't blame him for being pissed off. And he does calm down a little bit later and cools his jets. And most of the damage that's caused is more from the Kryptonians slamming him into things you know, than him. But either way, it's just when these type of superhumans battle, there's gonna be a lot of damage. There's gonna be collateral damage either way when these two superheroes fight. Um, so I don't mind the collateral damage of Smallville because I didn't think it was too much to the point where it's like, oh my god, this is just too much. It was just as much I've seen in films like The Incredible Hulk or you know other superhero movies. When you get to Metropolis at the end, then it's a little bit too much for my taste. It's too much 9/11 for me. But here I could deal with it. I was fine with it. But yeah, once you get to that stuff, I think the film is can be fun and it's actually quite entertaining. But when you build up to that's just boring. I don't like the stuff in Krypton. Looks like something out straight out of Avatar. All this stuff is happening, but I'm not invested in it because everything is CGI. Everything is shot behind a green screen, and the only time it's not, I'm kind of interested because there's actually set design. Oh my god, he actually swam under real water. It's a real set filled with real water. But there's other times where I'm just like, who cares? I'm just indifferent because I can't really get connected to the sequences on the screen, which is just always a bunch of CGI. And he's flying around dragons straight out of Avatar or Heavy Metal. Russell Crowe flying on the, he's a dragon rider of Pern. I don't really, what the hell? Like, I don't remember Krypton being like this. And then of course you have the stuff with Zod, and they get sent off in dick ships. They do. They look like dick ships. They look like little tiny dicks. They fly off into the sky. Then you have the overacting by Michael Shannon, screaming, "I will find him." So the Krypton scene is just The actress who plays Kal-El's mom is terrible. And, Krypton blows up, and I'm like, woo, woo, whatever, I already saw this. There was a lot of deja vu. It's like, why are we doing this again? Should have just had done this origin in the opening credits and gotten it over with already. Not waste an hour of the movie with this stuff. So you have the Krypton scenes, which I think 10 to 20 minutes almost, or whatever, the film's first part of it, and then you get to the flashbacks, which are disjointed. You start out with Clark working on a ship or whatever, and then it flashes back to him as a kid, and then you have the spaceship that crashes, and then we flash back, and it's just like all these before when you start to get into the story, the idea of Clark before he does not become Superman right away, or Clark Kent. He starts out as kind of a loner. um it's a different take on what I'm used to, and it's something that, with the right approach could be interesting. And I was kind of starting to get kind of interested in it, with the kind of concept of him being a weary traveler who's going around saving people. Um, but I didn't see, he said essentially Superman, but without the suit. But it's just not handled well, because I get into it and then it goes back to a flashback, and then it goes forward, and then it goes backwards again, and then it's hard for me to get involved with the story because it just keeps jumping all over the place. So that's why I think the film would be much stronger if you just structure it like a normal film. Just start out with the stuff from Krypton, the shuttle, the spaceship with Kal-El on it when he's a baby crashes on in Kansas. Jonathan and Martha can't find the baby, and then you can cut to the scene, which I really do like, the one flashback scene that I do like, where there's another one I don't mind too, but this one is the one I like the most, where he's at school, young Clark, and he's experiencing all the different powers all at once, like the X-ray vision and the super hearing, and it's disorientating him. And it's a good moment. It's a cool concept. It's nice to see that. It proves that Superman has X-ray vision, which he conveniently does not use in Batman vs Superman, because the screenplay, I guess, forgot that he had X-ray vision. And so he's all freaked out, and he hides in a closet, and he's scared, and it's up to his mom, Diane Lane, to come in and tell him to focus on one thing, and it helps him deal with it. I like that. That's a good scene. Then you just keep going forward in Clark's life from there. Then you can have the scene where he's saves the kids from the drowning in the bus. But then you don't have the scene where his dad says, maybe you should let them die. We don't need that. We don't need that. It's absolutely unnecessary. We don't need that. It's not needed. You just have him save the people, and then have him tell them about, hey, you're destined for good things, Clark, but, you need to wait, until the time comes to do that, and so on. You need to pick and choose your battles. Um, there you go. It's all you need. And then you could show the other scenes. Like, the other scene I didn't mind was the one where he's getting bullied by these bullies, and he's thinking about fighting back, but he doesn't. And then he talks to his dad and says, I wanted to hit him so bad. And then, his dad, Jonathan Kent, Kevin Costner, was like, yeah, I'm sure you did. And part of me wanted you to, but, you got to know, once again, you got to know when to pick your battles. So I didn't mind that scene, and you could have had that in the film. Just structure it normally. I completely cut out the stupid tornado scene. Talk to the hand, Clark. Don't save me. Don't save me. Don't do it. But I can save you like 2 seconds and nobody will see anything. Nobody will notice. Well, you don't do it. I could have saved the dog in 2 seconds. You don't have to go anywhere. Don't do it, Clark. Talk to the hand. And then he gets whisked away by a tornado. That's just fucking stupid. It's stupid! It's so dumb. And it's ridiculous. So over the top. It's like he needs to be a martyr, so a tornado's gonna blow him away. This is fucking awful. So, I'd cut that out and I'd just have Jonathan Kent die of natural causes, like Jonathan Kent did in Superman the movie. That's the most powerful way to do it. To make him die of a tornado and say, don't save me, is just stupid. It's more powerful to me that Superman, Clark Kent, Cal, he couldn't save his dad because he died of a heart attack. He couldn't save him. I think that's more powerful. The whole scene in Superman the movie where he says, even with all my powers, I still couldn't save him. I would have even been fine if they just replayed that. If they just copied that same death for Jonathan Kent and had that same line of dialogue, I would not have a problem with it because it's actually the best way to set up, his death and the best way for Cal to react to it. That's just me personally. But anyway, so then you'd flash forward the stuff in the Arctic, and then with Lois Lane, and so on. And there you go. And I know I could deal with more Clark Kent, but you can see that he's still trying to find himself. And there are these moments where you see Clark come through when he's with his mother, but it's just not there yet because they're building up to it. He gets the job at the Daily Planet at the end of the movie. So as a first start, it's got some things going for it. It's just a shame that Batman vs Superman happened instead of Man of Steel 2, because it could have built off of what this film set up and made things so much stronger. And a Batman vs Superman movie later would have been a lot stronger and would have been a lot better because of that. It really would have benefited from that. But instead, all we get is just a little bit of a taste of what happened after Man of Steel, and it's just, to me, it seems like things just go in reverse from where they were at the end of Man of Steel. Which is another reason why I don't like Batman vs Superman. In fact, after watching this again, I like that movie even less. And I don't think that was even going to be possible because I hated that movie. I hate Batman vs Superman. But after watching Man of Steel and actually liking some aspects of it and seeing what happens to the story arc after Batman versus in Batman vs Superman, it just aggravates me. Pisses me off. But anyway, yeah, and the stuff with of course, you had the stuff with the oil rig, and that's in essence he's being Superman. He just doesn't have the costume. But if it were my idea and my script and my film, I would have had a scene later where he has the suit and he saves the oil rig as Superman. And then you have the stuff near the end, where he stops the world engine, and he did save people. He is one person. He is Superman, but he's only one guy against like Zod and a bunch of other people. So he can only be at one place, he can't be at two places at once. So he stops the world engine, and then he comes back just in time to stop Zod from blowing up the bomber that has the Phantom Drive on it. So, in essence, saves the rest of the city that way, because otherwise, if he didn't do that, the Phantom Drive would have gotten blown up, and so would the bomber, and the other ship that's basically the dubstep machine would still be still be on and blowing shit up, and more people would have died. So Superman does save people. It's just, and he saves the Earth. That's like all the people you can ask for. It's just the way that it's handled. I mean, and I think the biggest thing is him kissing Lois Lane in the ruins of Metropolis. That's such a douche move that should have been cut out of the film. And that's a big problem for me. That's the first time. That's the big moment of douchiness for this Superman. Is that don't do that. Because after that scene, if I remember correctly, he goes in and like lifts the rubble off of Jenny, but you never see him lift the rubble off. You just hear the sound, and then it's just like Zack Snyder and the writers did not handle that very well. Show Superman lift the rubble off of Jenny and save her. The way that it's set up, I don't blame people being like, did he really do that? I mean, I guess he did, but I didn't actually see him do it. I mean, he saved the pilot guy, the military guy. He saved a bunch of people in Smallville. He caused some damage, but he also saved a lot of people. Saved a lot of people in Metropolis. He could have done a better job taking the battle out of Metropolis. I think it's kind of half-assed for him to just take it into space and smash through Bruce Wayne's satellite and then just conveniently crash back into Metropolis. I think there should have been a little bit more of an effort, and I think it's a poor screenplay that's to blame for this. I don't buy the idea that Zod wouldn't let him. I don't buy that because they're supposed to be evenly matched because they both have the same powers. They should not. Zod should not be more powerful and stronger and better than Superman is. They should be evenly matched. And so what I think would have been a great idea would to be after, they go up into space and that doesn't work, then maybe Superman just guides them to a desert somewhere. They fight in the desert, then they fly, then he takes Zod to the mountains somewhere, or then into a forest, and then Zod maybe gets the upper hand and then forcibly drags Superman back to Metropolis. Then it's not both of them basically saying, all right, we're going to Metropolis and causing more damage. No, here it would be Zod is the one that takes him there. And that's the whole thing anyway. It's Zod's idea. He's going to destroy everything unless Superman stops him. And with the whole thing with him killing him, it's just the way it's set up. I mean, he's shooting his laser eyes at this couple, these family who could just fucking run. The lasers are so slow they could just get out of the fucking way, but they don't. That's a problem with that scene for me. But Superman snapping his neck and killing him isn't a problem to me. It's just the kind of way it's set up. It's like, maybe you could have had it where Zod finds a way, I don't know. Like there's a whole crowd of people and he's about to blast them all. And Superman, and Zod even like kills a couple people already. And then that's when Superman is like, no, I can't let this happen. He snaps his neck. I think that'd be more powerful. Have a whole crowd of people. Maybe Zod's up on, top of a building, and he's got his laser eye, his heat vision, and he just disintegrates a bunch of people already. And then he says that if you care about these people, and then he's like, no! And then he just grabs him, and he's still blasting people. He's still like killing people in this crowd, and people are running away. And maybe the blast is getting close to Perry White or somebody like that, or Jenny, the girl that he just saved. And then he's like, I can't let this happen, and then breaks his neck. That'd be strong. That would be a much more powerful moment for me than, no, don't kill us. It's super slow beam, a few feet away from him. No, it's like, get out of the fucking way. Go this way. Go, run to the fucking right. Get the fuck out of the way. They had plenty of moments to do that. That's just, I don't like the way that that's set up. And I don't like the way that the scenes that happen after that either. Like, a little bit afterwards, you see the stuff with, I think there's something with the Daily Planet that I don't really care about. And then you have the stuff where Superman takes a satellite out of the sky, and then some military chick says he's hot. I mean, cut that scene out of the movie. It's completely out of place. And I mean, just a couple scenes after Superman breaks Zod's neck and is like, I think he's hot. No, cut that shit out of the movie. It doesn't belong there. But, that being said, those are the sort of things I would do to kind of fix this, to kind of make this film better for me. If you made more of an effort to see Superman try to get the fight out of Metropolis other than just get into space for a little bit, and then back into Metropolis, and back into throwing Zod through buildings, back into letting Zod throw a tanker truck at me, and I jump out of the way, and it blows up behind me, so I get an awesome shot, me in front of the explosion, and then I go back and punch him in the face. That's like something you'd see out of a Michael Bay movie. Like, that's just unnecessary destruction. And that's kind of what it felt like to me in this movie. Um, but yeah, and none of the kissing Lois Lane in the ruins shit. Have him kiss Lois Lane, and well, they're after he saved her, and they just kiss in midair. Why don't we do that? That's fine. Then they land, and then they go their separate ways. We don't need to be kissing in the ruins of Metropolis. That's beyond tacky. But yeah, after watching the film again, I don't mind it. It's a time waster. I like the bits of action when it's there. I can enjoy the whole alien invasion part, and I think there's more of the Superman that I love here than I remember there being. But the biggest thing, it's hard to really see because the world around him is so much darker and is so much more against who he is, and they don't trust him. And so you have this sort of dynamic where the world around him is just so blah that it just makes him blah as a result. I think the world around him could be a little bit lighter too. There isn't a lot of moments where you show the world around him being a world of hope and a world of compassion. He's trying to be that, but there's a lot of people who just don't have faith in him. But then there's a few moments where, there are some good moments, like when Christopher Meloni says this man is not our enemy. So there's moments like that, but they're few and far between. I think there should have been more moments like that. So then there isn't this sort of confusion about whether or not this movie has a light side to it or not, because it does, but it's just not in the forefront like the Donner films and some of the other Superman movies were. So, but this film is downright light, and it absolutely is bright as a fucking rainbow compared to Batman versus Superman. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about Man of Steel except the second time around I thought it was average. It was decent. It was mediocre. Could have had better screenplay. Could have had some better plot structure. Would have changed some things up. In the climax. In the final battle. I would have shown a little bit more scenes of Superman doing more heroic acts. Even though I know he's just learning to be Superman, you could just still have just a scene where he's dressed as Superman and have it after he learns how to fly for the first time. And he's flying around and he realizes that there's something going on at the oil rig and in the middle of the ocean, and he just decides to come in and help. And then that's when you get the first news story that Superman, saves, an oil rig or something. And they're like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. All right. That could be the world's first introduction to Superman. Instead of him just handing himself in to General Zod. This time it could be saving an oil rig and saving a bunch of people. Being a hero, which is cool. And he was saying that would be a hero too by sacrificing, giving himself up to Zod because otherwise Zod was going to destroy the Earth. So, but it's just more visual. It's a more impactful visual to have him dressed as Superman saving the oil rig and saving the people on the oil rig. I mean, not necessarily saving the oil rig, but saving the people on the oil rig. But that being said, I think this could be a lot worse now. I don't hate this movie anymore, but I don't blame people who do, and I'm totally okay with people that do. I'm totally okay with people who love it. I'm totally okay with people who think it's okay like I do. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a film that I'm glad I gave another shot, and yeah, it could be better, but it could be a lot worse, and I can get some enjoyment out of it. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I've said my piece. I've said the things about it that I have problems with, um, how you might be able to fix them, and I don't know what else to say except thank you for watching. And as always, I will see you guys later. See ya.